Now story time with Papa Bigfoot.
Here's V. I don't know if I'm gonna make it, man. I have this horrible headache, and I think I
Hello.
just need to lie down.
This sound like a baby.
That's what you said in the message. Hello, Mr. Evan. How are you?
Hi, how are you? Oh, I'm good.
You're on the air.
You're on the air.
Oh, goodness.
Welcome
So
to You
nervous.
Had Me at Bigfoot.
Hi.
The only podcast recommended by 4 out of 5 proctologists.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, I wasn't feeling good earlier, dude. I had this headache, and you know, it was like I don't know. I think I should probably just lay down. You know, lay down.
Evan, that gentleman that you hear right there, that's V. We call him V. His name's Ryan.
Okay.
And you're probably wondering where the V comes from. That would be his last name, of course. Also on the microphone we have Dustin.
Hello.
And,
Hi.
you know, obviously we've been talking. I'm Tom. So we're recording right now, but don't feel obligated to be like immediately on your best behavior or professional or anything like that. We do a lot of BSing before the show. Normally we have time. We do a lot of BSing during the show as well, but you know, normally we do meet up a little bit beforehand and talk to one another before we take on the guest and everything. So, you know, you're kind of caught in the middle of it all.
Well, I guess I should have grabbed another beer then.
No, you're okay. If you want to go grab
Oh, by
another
all
one,
means.
if you want to, and if you heard any of our other episodes, most of the time we're drunk on the show anyways. So
All right, actually, I may just go do that.
yeah, go for it. We'll hold the line for you.
All right, cool. We'll be right back.
So, anyways, V, now that we're done
Yeah.
harassing you about
Yeah, gay.
wanting to take a nap before the
You
show,
weren't feeling good, gay. Yeah.
how dare you
Okay.
feel ill before the show? You know, we've been planning this for 2 weeks now because
I know, right?
This exact call.
And,
is
and then
made.
it's funny because like as I was laying down, I was laying on my bed, and it's like, you know, it's the AC is on, but it's still like you try to find that cool spot on your bed, you know, where there like hasn't been any heat from your body, so you kind of like move around. And I'm like laying there and I'm thinking, what a dick I am if I bail on these guys. like here we are. We spent last night like working on the outros and the intros and stuff. Like we were up doing all this stuff, and then I'm just like,
Totally
I don't
blow
feel
these
so
guys
good,
off.
man. I don't think I'm gonna make it.
You know what we would have said about you? We would have called it pulling a James. We would have likened you to James, and we would have put that front and center on the show. Well, you know, V pulled the James tonight and decided to totally skip on the show, and I felt like a total dirtbag too because last night or the day, maybe the day before, we were talking about who was going to be on the show tonight. And you had said, don't we have someone lined up? Oh, it was because of that chick that didn't show up.
Oh yeah.
I had a chick who was going to talk about her demonic experience or whatever. And I even set aside time a couple days ago where I'm like, hey, you know, come on, you come on the show, we'll talk. It'll just be you and me. We'll do a quick, you tell your story. I'll just make sure we got everything we need. And then I'll just do it as its own story or whatever. She totally blows me off.
she just doesn't call in.
Yeah, and she didn't even message me back, and still today she hasn't even so I'm sure she's just like at a point where she's like, well,
Scared.
totally missed my opportunity. I don't want to, because I even wrote back, I'm like, I guess we're not doing this today then, after like 40 minutes of me sitting here twiddling my thumbs. And so I'm talking to V about it.
That's not what you were twiddling.
I was trying to check and see how many fingers. But then I was talking to V, and he said, don't we have somebody else lined up? And I was like, yeah, the alien guy. And then I totally spaced, and I'm like, did I even confirm that he was going to be on the show? Like, have I talked to him to make sure that he's still good with coming on the show today? And so,
Hey, I'm back.
Hey, welcome back. We were just talking about
Welcome
you.
back.
Oh, okay.
So go grab another beer so we can finish talking bad about you.
Oh, okay, that's fine. I'll be right back.
Then I said,
No, just joking.
I said, man, I was like, I hope he's still down. And I tried to message him on my phone from Skype, and it kept giving me the little red error thing. And
Oh, Lord.
and I was like, are we still good? Are we good for 9:30 on Tuesday or whatever? Red error. And I'm like, oh shit. I was like, maybe he blocked me. That's what he listened to a couple of the episodes. He's like, I'm not going on this show with these
I'm out.
guys.
Yeah, he's done. He was done after that.
And then
Like, I'm cool, bro.
And then I went on to Reddit and I messaged you there or whatever, and I'm like, hey, are we still good? And you're like, absolutely. And I was like, oh, thank God, V's not gonna friggin' shit a chicken over me blowing this opportunity to talk to this guy.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had my I only have Skype on my computer, and my computer was sitting so I just moved back home from college because I just got done with finals and whatnot. You know, I just took what?
Did you pass?
I had one B and the rest were A's. So
Evan.
yeah.
You gotta pick one. What was the B in?
Lifespan developmental psychology.
Yeah. Well, fuck
Yeah,
that.
that's not important.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is. Are you gonna need? Are you trying to do nursing? You said.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So yeah, I guess you might need that more than like guys like us do, who just sit around and not do nothing.
Well, I'll tell you what. This is the kind of shit that I had to deal with. I sat there and my friend who was sitting next to me in lecture, she showed me that because we had to deal with this program, right, through the whole thing that automatically graded everything, even like fill in the blank answers, right?
Yeah.
And she typed in the word alone, and it counted it wrong, and it told her the right answer was lonely. So that's the kind of bullshit that I had to deal with.
Well, you know
like
what?
just
I did online college because I'm lazy and I'm an independent mom who doesn't need no man. And,
hell yeah.
That doesn't describe you at all.
Yeah, no.
First of all,
that pretty much does.
I'm not a woman.
It's like to the
I'm not
T.
independent, and I do need men in my life. You know what I mean? But no, but I did that, and we had the same issue, but it was like, you'd type in your answer for the math question or whatever, and you'd type in your answer, and it would be like verbatim. It would say, your answer of blah is incorrect. The correct answer is, and it would be the same exact thing that you typed.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, you'd get docked 10 points for a quiz for something that you got right anyways. And it was math, which was not my strong suit, which kind of worked in my favor because I would just constantly get those errors, and I would go to the professor and I'd be like, this is fucked up. Why am I getting all these wrong? I was like, I'm really not that bad at math, which I totally was. And, finally they were like, we're just going to go ahead and give you extra credit for all these errors.
You're bad at math?
I am horrible at math.
I thought you have a master's in finance.
No, I don't have a master's. I started my master's and then I dropped out. But yeah, I do. It's in business management and accounting. So
Accounting?
cool.
Yeah.
And you're bad at math.
But you don't need to know math. You have Excel. You have programs that basically do any job that I'm qualified for.
Yeah, who needs to know math anymore? You don't need to know math for anything. The most math you need to know is how to add money together. And that's just basic addition and subtraction
And even
of
that, the
decimals.
cash register does it for you.
Yeah, and even then the cash register does it for you. Rarely, it's funny too, you take all these math classes growing up, and then they give you these like serious questions like, you're making a cake and you have half a cup of blah, blah, blah and a quarter of a cup of blah, 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 blah. I've never, ever had to use any of that in my entire life. I've never had to use any algebra. Like I've never been like, what is the X property of value of this?
If I'm trying to find X of the amount of bananas that I'm trying to buy at the grocery store, like I've never tried to. Geometry that's one thing where they're like, you're going to need this. Geometry is totally useful, and then you go to the store and you're like, when am I going to need to know the circumference or the diameter of a banana to buy it? You know what I mean?
Let
Like,
me tell you something.
Yeah,
You want to know the circumference of a banana.
because you try to use it to measure yourself, and you're like, wow, so my circumference is the radius of a banana.
Look, I consider myself a scientist, and part of the science I conduct is how many fingers an alien can stick in your anus. And one way to really gauge that is stick a banana up there. It happens.
yeah.
No one's talking about it, but it's happening,
I have my doctorates in bullshit.
I mean, I think I would have the circumference of an acorn, but
Nice. See, mine's
yeah,
a Tic Tac.
it's
Mine's the circumference of the radius of a Tic Tac.
oh sweet,
Yes.
dude.
Sorry,
That's
beat that.
that's
Are we
nice.
talking,
Like,
are we talking about anal cavity? Are you guys talking about anal cavity
I don't know.
diameter?
I was
everything.
talking about anal cavities.
I was
It's all
talking
lumped
about
together.
the penis. If we're
Yeah,
talking about
I mean,
the anal
same.
cavity, mine's the radius of the diameter or the circumference of something much bigger.
You know a bowling
Planet
ball?
Earth.
About the circumference of that.
Roughly, give or take.
Yeah.
A couple
Few,
Uranuses.
centimeters.
All right, so now that we're done talking about fingers and anuses and Uranuses and V's
Yeah,
sex life,
the good shit.
There's a lot of cut material in there.
you know what? I'm almost running out of hidden poop, if you can believe that.
Oh, not after this.
Evan, we do this thing called hidden poop where like we have the full episodes of what we do here, like what we're about to do rather, and then we have the hidden poop, which are 10, 15 minute little shorts that come between the episodes. And it's just all the stuff that didn't make the show. Sometimes I have enough to make a whole hidden poop short episode. And I also have, like at the beginning of the episode where it says, with your host, Tom, and then it has me say something irreverent, and then, and Dustin, and he says something. We've added Ryan and James to that. So now I have to have hidden poop for them as well. And then we also have at the beginning of the episodes last time on You Had Me at Bigfoot. And then I have to find another really short bit to throw in there. I was trying to get rid of as much hidden poop as I had, because I had like an hour's worth of unused
Jesus
material
Christ.
that was funny. And now I'm down to like, the bottom of the barrel stuff. Like I'm scraping my knuckles trying to find something useful.
Yeah.
It's funny that like just referring to it as hidden poop. Like if nobody knew what you were talking, if you were telling somebody about your hidden poop, they think you were just like skilled at hiding turds or something.
I think I belong in a
Like
banana house.
in my spare time, I hide poops under the bed.
See, my thought was when you go to wipe and it's just there's just nothing there. It's just
It's called the
clean
Jesus poop.
toilet paper.
That's the Jesus poop.
Oh,
I thought that was called the Houdini wipe. When you wipe and there's nothing
I
there.
always thought the Houdini was when you poop and you feel it happen, and then you go to wipe, there's nothing. You look in the toilet, there's nothing. Like, where'd it go? That's the Houdini.
Maybe that is. Yeah, maybe you might be right. I think you're right.
Evan's like, what on earth did I get myself involved in? And then we
no.
it's all professional.
You should hear
Well,
some of this shit that me and my friend.
Evan, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Have you heard the show? And if you haven't, it's okay.
Yeah, I've listened to several episodes.
Which ones did
Like,
you listen
probably-
to?
What's your favorites, man? Give us a quote.
Well,
Plus one fan just happened, guys.
We just found out we're always referring to our
Call
one
the
fan. It turns out
sponsors.
it's Evan.
Call the sponsors, dude. We got more listeners.
so I listened to You Had Me at Wizard Part 1, You Had Me at Slenderman, listened to You Had Me at Death Row, a little bit of You Had Me at Ouija,
You had me.
and then
fucked
I
up.
listened to You Had Me at Abduction, which was interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, that one
because
was more informative, like from his perspective. Like that was at the beginning of the series, kind of where we were still trying to be like, useful, I guess, like to people listening.
well,
Like, where we
I mean,
provide a
it's
service.
interesting because there are some similarities.
There you go. Yeah, because talking about the abduction show, going into that show, we had just started. That was like what, our second episode, third episode.
Because the second was the
Yeah.
Ghostbusters
So
one.
I was still very skeptical about things that was going to happen on this show. And I really was like, hey, this is going to be some dumb kid who's full of shit. And it wasn't. And it ended up being
Right.
mind-blowing. So it is going to be interesting to see what you say compared to what he said. Some similarities there.
He's going to be like, well, I'm from Canada, you
I'm
see.
from
And he's going to tell the exact same
Exact
story.
same
Wait a minute.
It's like, you did listen to the show.
He just puts it on play. I'm like, am I questioning myself here? What's going on? All right, so, well, let's get rocking and rolling on it. Evan, I know you and I have talked a little bit, and I've told the guys about you a little bit, and I've been describing you in a certain way, and I hope it's. I mean, I really don't care if it's accurate or not because it's funny to me. So I've been saying that you were throughout your life kind of harassed by aliens.
Well, okay.
Would that
No.
be
I would say kind of.
accurate. Like, and you got to know, I'm pretty like I exaggerate a lot. So for me to say that, it's more about entertainment value and having a good chuckle. Hey, this guy's been harassed by aliens. Whereas, like, I'm sure you're gonna correct me and be like, well, no, they politely knocked on my door and were courteous when I asked them to leave, and then I never heard from them again.
They politely anal probed me. Yeah. They gently went up from the smallest finger to the largest. It was real nice.
It was what's that called? Dilating. This is like the third episode I've had to refer to dilating.
Dilation.
Yeah, so
I almost believed him for a second. I was like, what? Really?
He was like, are we gonna ask him how many fingers?
For a second, I was like,
sakes, what's going on?
You never know. Our last guest, man, he said some things too that made me be like, what? Like, wait a second. Wait a second. Like, we're all laughing and having a good time, and then he's like, yeah, no, that happened.
And then I summoned the devil. So I don't know what to tell you.
Oh God.
Go ahead, Evan. I know we keep interrupting you.
Yeah, continue.
No,
continue.
that's fine. So do you want me to start out with, like, okay, so it doesn't just hit my perspective, it's also my parents as well as my grandpa, who was in the Air Force.
Digging deep.
Do you want me to start from like
chronology?
So it's like generations of alien harassment?
So I was
Yeah.
right, but it was more than what I said. So I thought you were going to take it down a notch and dilute my story, but now we're realizing that it's like you're expanding upon my story. Why don't we do this? Why don't we start with, hi, I'm Evan, and just a little bit about you, so that kind of like, so that the viewers, listener,
our listener,
so that
our
you
one
later,
fan,
when you listen to this.
All right, well, so hi, I'm Evan.
Hi, Evan.
Hi. I'm a nursing student. I'm from Northwest Ohio. I'm really into comic books. Me and my dad are. And I'm pretty sure, like, because I'm already naturally, I guess, kind of skeptical on a lot of things. I'm not very religious. And, when people usually tell me things, I usually ask for, evidence or something to back it up, and I'm pretty damn sure that I've been dealing with some kind of extraterrestrial shit. And I'm pretty sure it started with my grandpa, and then it continued on to my dad, and now on to me.
So you were saying that your grandfather was in the Air Force?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let's start. If it started with your grandfather, let's kind of start there.
Okay.
Yeah, go chronological in this. I think in this case, if it's been a generations of harassment, I think starting chronologically would be ideal.
Okay, so I don't know everything from my grandpa because he was, so he was very down to earth, right? And so when he was in the Air Force, he was first stationed in Alaska, and this was back in Vietnam, and he then got moved to New Mexico. When he was down in New Mexico, he said he was stationed near an experimental base that worked on different types of aircraft and whatnot. And he said it was always weird, like really fucking weird at night. He said that he would just see and hear just crazy shit. He said it was just the weirdest fucking thing. Now, this is also the same man who said that Star Wars, any kind of science fiction stuff, he always said that was just total bullshit. He said it's horse shit, whatever, don't like it, stupid, whatever. I mean, I like that shit, but whatever, Grandpa. But he, for whatever reason, he grew up Protestant. And I remember I was talking to him one time when I was younger, before I even started experiencing shit, and he told me that he was pretty damn sure that, at least in his own thoughts, that Jesus Christ was an alien.
We've discussed
Now-
this before.
No, yeah, he's that quite possibly he was Syrian.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That was what we had talked about.
All right.
Are you sure you don't mean Lord Xenu?
Lord Yondu, you mean?
Yeah, Lord Gandu.
All right.
Gosh.
Sorry, Evan. Go ahead.
Oh no, I don't care. I mean, it's just a conversation. It's all good. But I don't know. Like he, as someone who is so fucking down to earth, you know, I don't know why in the hell he would say that, something like that. You know, that just doesn't make sense in terms of his way of life and his way of thinking to have that one offshoot thing. That makes me think that he has had something happen, something supernatural or whatever.
Well, what did he say exactly happened to him? Like details, man. Like, what did he say that brought him to the conclusion that it was extraterrestrial? Or are you saying
he didn't? He didn't say. He didn't say anything because he you know, he was very much like, okay, so like he didn't tell me nor my father anything about Vietnam.
Well,
really
nobody-
nothing. I learned through
any Vietnam veteran who ever talked about their time in Vietnam, aside from like one story or two maybe, was lying. So the fact that your grandfather didn't tell stories leads me to believe that he was hard as fuck.
Yeah, he told my not my dad's mom, but the woman that he didn't marry but he lived with. He may as well have been married to, you know. He told her that at one point he had to, because he actually worked on the aircraft. He said he walked onto a big cargo plane and it was just filled with body bags, and it was at night. And he said it was the scariest thing, I guess, that he ever really experienced. And I guess he also had a Vietnamese boy who was their laundry boy. He ended up coming at him with a grenade one time on a motorized scooter.
But I'm talking about extraterrestrial accounts. Like you said that he experienced something. This is the generations of
Right.
alien harassment here. And so what is it exactly that he experienced that brought you or him to the conclusion that it was an alien encounter?
That's the thing. He never said anything, you know. And I know it's speculation, but the thing is too is that my dad, when he was a child, right, he woke up and him and my grandpa and grandma, they lived out in, you know, in the middle of nowhere. And my dad said he would always see like even as when he was real young, he would wake up and he would see these lights and shit that would come in through his window. And he said one time specifically he did wake up and there was something standing over his bed. And from what I know from like looking at everything, you know, and he even drew it out and described it, it was as what people document as like one of the Greys.
Tall or short?
Short.
Okay.
That's my alien right there.
I don't
could've
really
been
know
Dustin.
the fucking difference between the two. I just know that he described it as short, so.
Well, let me, you know what's interesting about that time period, your grandfather's time period? That would have been, when he was younger, he would have been around the time of Roswell, right? I mean, that's, so there not being any kind of experiences during his youth and his attitude towards it growing up, it makes sense because not a lot of people were talking about it. It didn't become, you know, aliens didn't become a part of, you know, modern culture until probably 60s, 50s, 60s, I would say.
50s.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I get why he would be that way. And again, what you said about going to New Mexico, I actually read an article at one point about somebody who was assigned to, it wasn't Area 51, it was a different area or a different base.
Right.
And he worked in a records keeping vault. There were 4 rooms, and I'll try to remember it the best I can, but there were 4 rooms, 4 different record keeping rooms, and they were all segregated. There was one room for biological weapons, one room for chemical stuff, one room for vehicular, blueprints and such, and then for another one for something else. And they were all very like top secret. He would be shuttled to the where he had to work, and it was all the blackout stuff, and he would get there, he would go in, sign in, do his little name tag and everything, and he would go down, and it was a year-long assignment. He would go down to his room by himself, and there were certain people who were allowed to check out the materials. He would hand them the materials, and then they would bring it back when they were done. And that was his job for a year. And they said he could read anything that was in there. They didn't care if he read anything. He had all the right clearances and all that.
Yeah.
And so he would do that. He would just check out the paperwork, but he had nothing to do for the, the 7 hours a day that he wasn't interacting with anybody. So he would read, and he read up on all these alleged instances and all these vehicles that they found and all these accidents that had happened and all these alien bodies that were found. And he came about it not like, hey, look at me, I'm an alien guy, I know about aliens and I know all this and that and the other. But his attitude about the whole situation was, I worked in this particular place, and I truly and honestly believe the reason why I was assigned there was to see if they could trust me with actual national security secrets. Because he wasn't allowed to talk about anything that he did there. He wasn't allowed to talk about anything that he read there or anything like that. And he had his clearance, and when you have those top secret clearances, they pull you back every year to ask you on the lie detector or the polygraph to see if you've told anybody. And if you tell them that you told somebody, then you're done for. And but that was what he thought it was. Well, he thought it was just a year-long assignment where they were seeing if they could trust him with highly classified, top secret information. But he said there were all sorts of really interesting pieces of material that he read through, and that led him to believe that very possibly it could be and could not be. But that was the base that was there in New Mexico. That when people talk about the mysterious Area 51 in New Mexico, or I'm sorry, not Nevada.
Yeah.
But that's what he said, was a lot of people talk about the mysterious Area 51. He said there's another base that's even more mysterious because he's like, I know about it because I worked there for a year. But he said that it was, then he went on to become like some kind of high up guy in the CIA or something. And now he works freelance security for firms that require top secrecy and stuff like that. So very possibly, that's the sort of thing that is going on there. And if he was working in certain institutions like that, I could understand why he would encounter kind of odd vehicles and stuff like that.
Some weird shit.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's really the only thing with my grandpa. Just a short little tidbit like that. It's just the fact that the whole thing with Jesus Christ that he believed just really fucking throws me for a loop, because it just makes no logical sense. Why in the hell he would believe that? This kind of guy that my grandfather was.
There's a lot of stuff in the Bible that actually is interpreted as, there's people obviously that interpret it as, hey, this is what happened, it was a dude, it was an angel, it was God, it was Jesus, it was this, and it was a person or a human type person, i.e. human God, Jesus. And then there's people who interpret certain Xenu. There are people who also interpret it as aliens. Like, for instance, I had to look it up just now, it was Elijah. He was actually brought up to heaven in a chariot of flames, a chariot of flames. And the way it's described, you could easily make the connection that, oh, he's talking about a UFO, because they didn't have electricity back then. So if they see a light, they assume, oh, it's fire, And a chariot, they didn't have cars versus trucks versus vans. So they really had no way of differentiating anything other than a chariot or a cart. And he's probably not going to call something that flies and is very technologically advanced and covered in flames or whatever a cart. So he'd probably call it a chariot.
Yeah, you could go off of that assumption that if it had some sort of thrusting ability, with like turbines.
Yeah.
would make someone of that era, they don't know what that is, so they just, create what it is in their mind.
Yeah, you just find the closest thing that you can associate it with.
And throughout translations, they just assumed, oh, he's talking about something. And I mean, the Bible is full of kind of instances of oddity, to where it's not like anybody's going to be like, a chariot of flames ascending into the heavens? How preposterous. But he also went on to talk to people in the way they describe the angels that he talks to, very tall, slender, silken robes, and all this. And he gives them very explicit directions on how to build this this city, this giant, beautiful city. So a lot of people will interpret that particular story as, oh, he was taken to another planet and shown, hey, this is how you build a city. Those clay huts that you guys are doing, they're not going to cut it. Look at what we're doing. And that's kind of how people have interpreted that particular story. And I mean, there's I'm looking at a list. I'm not going to read them off right now, but it's like a list of 10 biblical accounts that could be interpreted as UFOs or aliens, and a lot of them do make sense when you look at them and you, with an open mind. If you're not going into it with the closed-minded kind of Christian, oh, it's verbatim from the book, it's from God's mouth to their ears. If you go into it with the possibility of interpretation, it's hard to ignore the possibility that it was aliens and UFOs.
Yeah, for sure. So continuing on the whole shebang, I guess. So with my dad, as a kid, he would kind of wake up and experience these things, at seeing lights coming through his window, and what he says he saw that short gray standing over his bed one time. And just a quick aside too, have any of you guys seen the movie Dark Skies?
Yeah
that fucking movie, dude, that scares the living hell out of me every time I watch that. Like, I love watching scary movies, but when I fucking watch that movie, it just sends chills down my back. I'll tell you what.
You might like that movie, V. It's got J.K. Simmons. Is that his name?
I have no idea.
Is that the dude? Is that the guy that plays J. Jonah Jameson?
Yeah. He's in that movie. He plays a crazy alien conspiracy kind of nut that they go to, right? They go to that guy in the city, and he explains what's going on with the sun. Am I thinking of the right movie?
What'd you say?
Am I thinking of the right movie where they go to the dude in the city? Okay. Yeah, he's in that movie. He plays like a crazy, nut job kind of, who's right, as is the case most of the time. You see the guy who's the crazy dude with all the cats around his apartment and newspapers and shit everywhere. And then you're like, oh, that's the crazy guy.
He comes flying in, and he's got all these papers that are all flying all over the place in his hands. And
exactly.
We got this doomsday thing happening, and you guys are going to be ready for it. And then everybody thinks he's crazy, and then Gerard Butler shows up and has to save the world.
That's how every movie should end. It should always end with Gerard Butler saving the world. Thank you, Leonidas.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that movie always fucking gets me, just because of, like, I don't even know. I mean, I can't really draw like a whole lot of parallels to the movie, of course, just because, I mean, that movie is fictional, but when I sit there and just kind of think as a whole, how it just kind of began real simple, but also kind of super odd, with like how they all woke up and they went downstairs and there was all that glassware that was all just like set up in a certain geometrical pattern that showed a light or a big old geometric pattern on the ceiling, and it just kind of did all this crazy shit. It's just something as, even though it's not entirely like subtle, it's just kind of makes me feel similar.
So we're going off topic a little bit here. Let's go back to what you were saying, that your dad saw lights and then he saw a gray man or the gray alien. Right. I don't know. I actually don't know much about like the whole aliens. This is Tom and Dustin's area. I'm kind of the what do you call it?
Spectator? The
Yes. I was going to say comic relief.
Oh.
But so I want to know how that went to you. Tom told me I was under the impression that you were harassed by aliens, and from what he told me it was lights and bass sounds and all this stuff, and I just thought,
yeah. So that's kind of where it gets to me. So my dad never really, as he remembers it, as a kid, he never really experienced anything besides those lights and that one time with that gray standing over him. But so I first started experiencing shit when I was going into freshman year of high school. And the first experience that I remember is so the way that like my house was set up, my old house, was you had like my parents' room on one end of the house, and then you had like the living room that was kind of extended, and then you had a kind of like a hallway that divided into my sister's room on the right. In the middle was a bathroom, and then in my room on the left. It was kind of like a real short little hallway here. And I remember I woke up one time because my bed was up against the wall that was that you could look to your right, and there was the hallway, right? And my door was open, of course. And I woke up at, I don't remember at the time, but I just remember waking up, looking at the clock, and then looking to my right and seeing 3 like blue orbs just kind of like lazily just kind of floating. And I, of course, it's like I was thinking, what the fucking hell, and I looked to my left then, and an hour had passed. And then when I looked to my right, it was gone. And it was just, I don't know, it wasn't anything major. It was just kind of like a what the fuck moment. Like I thought I was dreaming or something, After that, my mom started, and I didn't know this at the time. Okay, I learned this after basically everything had stopped, and we kind of all just got to talking about it, and turns out we were actually experiencing this kind of crazy shit at the same time, which is fucking weird. But my mom started waking up pretty like a lot at about 3 a.m., 3:30, around there. Pretty reoccurring thing, I guess, that she had going on. But after that, though, seeing those 3 blue orbs, I think soon after that I moved into my sister's room because my sister moved out, whatever. But after that, I started experiencing where I would wake up in the middle of the night, about 3 o'clock, maybe before that, maybe 2, whatever. And that's when I would hear that bass. And it would kind of be like a and God, that sounds fucking stupid just talking about it, I guess, but it was, you could feel it. You know, like when you go to a concert, right? And you have those big ass fucking speakers that are just shooting out, those really low, bass notes, and you can feel it going through your body. Well, it was like that, except it was pulsating, not super fast, not a super fast beat, but at a pretty decent speed. And I remember just waking up the first time.
So it was like electronica. They were bumping electronica outside of your house.
Yeah, absolutely. They were listening to some fucking Deadmau 5, So they were just chilling, having a good time. But no, so I kind of lived out in the country when I was at that house with my parents, and it was kind of in the country, kind of not, I guess, but yeah, and it was just so fucking weird because we had cornfields pretty much all around us except for on the left and right sides of our house. We had 2 other houses there. But yeah, like I would feel the walls when I felt the walls when that shit was going down. I could feel it doing the same shit to the walls. And I've never been that scared before in my life. Like it was tremendously frightening. And I don't know, it was fucking freaky. And
Did
then
it sound? Did it sound a little bit like?
Suck my motherfucking dick. Suck my motherfucking dick. Suck my dick. Suck my dick. Suck my dick. Suck my motherfucking dick. Suck my dick. Suck my motherfucking. Suck my dick. Suck my motherfucking dick.
fuck, that was it. That was it.
Suck my dick. Suck my dick. Suck my motherfucking dick.
What's wrong?
Is that what you experienced? Hopefully not.
Yeah, no, it was. I think, fuck, I'm fucked, you know.
It's so funny. It's so funny because I picture like aliens outside his window, just like doing that, pelvic thrust
Doing
dance.
the party boy outside of his window.
Yeah, the party boy. The party boy.
And then he wakes up and sees those blue orbs and panics. He's like, they're inside the house.
I just started dancing with, fuck it.
YOLO or whatever. Hashtag YOLO.
Yeah. But yeah, so that fucking vibration shit was weird, and it was pretty reoccurring. I would wake up and I would hear that kind of shit. I'm also kind of a heavy sleeper too, which is weird. Because, for instance, what also happened was around that same time that I was hearing the vibrations and shit. I didn't wake up to this, but my parents told me about it. That they woke up one time, and first my mom is always the first one to wake up. I don't know if it's motherly instincts or what, but she would wake up and she would hear this shit. She would hear that vibration, and she would wake my dad up. She'd say, Ed, and
Those
shake
neighbors
him,
are blasting that damn techno rap music talking about
Yeah,
sucking dicks.
yeah. Those fuckers are at it again. God damn it.
With their glow sticks. Their glow sticks.
It's always the moms that are like so behind on they're like, they assume everything is drug related, so they're like, they're with the glow sticks again.
I think they're on the
Ronald, get
marijuana.
out there. I think they're popping those marijuanas.
Oh Lord. So just to give you another quick little layout of the house. So a part of the living room, right? You would kind of come out, and it would be the kitchen would expand the entire length of the living room, but it was kind of like divided into it was divided by a wall that had two entrances on each side of the living room, and in the kitchen there was a glass door. And my dog, who was a Brittany Spaniel Corgi mix, he would like sometimes when my mom would wake my dad up, Stuart is his name. He'd be
So not only is your alien harassment limited to the generations of your family, but now they're messing with your dog too.
right, which is fucked up. Fucked up.
You turn into John Wick against aliens. It's like an intergalactic John Wick
personal.
3.
John Wick 3. This time it's personal.
But yeah, like when my dad would finally, get woken up, he would go out into the kitchen, and Stuart would just be fucking barking like crazy out by that that door. And this time though, it was the vibrations were going off, and it was just pulsating, and it was just fucking weird, I guess. And my mom said that she was also seeing lights coming in through their window, which was facing a cornfield. And she and my dad hooked Stuart up on the chain because we didn't have a fence or anything. And I guess he went sprinting towards the cornfield. And of course, because the chain, reached its entire length, he got yanked back, And as soon as that happened, there was like this, as my dad said, it was like a scream. He said it was the most unusual thing he's ever heard, because it was almost like metallic, I guess. like had some kind of like
Headfield Metallica?
Yeah, no. Some kind of like mechanical, like I don't know. He said
Lighting
it was
the lightning.
similar to Master Puppets. But he heard it, and he said then as soon as that fucking scream happened, the vibration just stopped, and it just got totally silent.
Was that the last experience you ever had?
Oh. After that, still hear vibrations. Which that sounds fucking weird, but whatever.
I was kind of hoping that would end. Like, I was kind of hoping the story would end there. I mean, I'm, obviously, I'm like, okay, well, fantastic. There's more because I love hearing about alien stuff. But like at the same time, I love hearing a good success story about a dog, interfering, and like Stuart saves the day.
Right. Well.
And that's how I wanted. For some reason in my mind, that's how I guess probably because that's how you told me originally. Was Stuart went out and then the mechanical scream, and then that was the last one. That's why I was like, Stuart thwarted intergalactic harassment. Bless his heart.
See, this is so after that, interestingly enough, one time I woke up to Stuart barking, and my dad and both my parents were asleep when I woke up, and I walked out to that glass door. I didn't hear any vibrations, right? And that's the interesting thing, okay? Because after that happened with Stuart, scared and whatever, I guess, I don't know. We didn't hear the vibrations anymore after that. But when I went out there, because Stuart was barking and going nuts, I walked out, and was looking at the glass, or out through the glass, and we had a patio that had a pergola, on it, and I just look at my dog and I'm like, what the hell are you, barking at? I'm like, are you okay, kind of thing, and I flip on the patio light and I just kind of stare outside for a while, and then all of a sudden, this fucking thing went running across the patio. And I guess you could describe that as a tall gray.
What it look like?
It was tall and gray.
It was tall and had like that gray alien head. And it was just, I don't know, it had a long hand or long arms.
How many fingers?
Huh?
No, I said how many fingers?
I didn't.
That's really what it comes down to in the end.
It was moving too quickly. But the funny thing is, my dog even recoiled from it. Like, he didn't even expect it. He just, I don't know. Like, he even got freaked out by it.
So how far from it were you guys? You and Stuart?
So we were at the
Stuart. I'd like to interview Stuart. I want to hear his account.
Well,
Yeah, let's get Stuart on the show.
well, he died 3 months ago.
Oh, man.
Damn you, Tom and V.
Hey, why would you bring up such a hurtful memory?
No, it's
What a
okay.
Let's celebrate the life of Stuart right now with a moment of silence.
Hey, Stuart was an American hero, man.
Angel.
He thwarted intergalactic
Who knows?
warfare.
Maybe he did.
Damn right.
We'll never know. Now that we can't interview Stuart and find out exactly what he did.
All the key witnesses always gone.
or he kept us from ascending to the Xenu.
What did Stuart know about the Clinton Foundation is what I want to know.
He did not have sexual relations with that.
With that alien.
With that alien.
Yes, with that alien.
Maybe that female dog, but not that.
Stuart was a dog of values, and I appreciate that about Stuart. I think we all do.
Yeah.
No,
God rest his soul. Xenu rest his soul.
May Yandu rest his weary and furry soul.
You know what? Here's a toast to Stuart.
Toast to Stuart.
Hell yeah.
Fucking A.
All right,
Salute.
carrying on.
Okay, so that happened, and both me and my dog basically like were, you know, in disbelief. I mean, I don't know. I don't actually know what was on my dog's brain at the time, but either way, then my dad came walking out, you know, like rubbing his eyes because he had just gotten woken up by my mom. And he's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "I just saw some shit. I'm going the fuck to bed." And, you know, I went to bed. And, you know, nothing really crazy happened too much after that for a while. And my mom said that she would still wake up pretty reoccurring at 3 a.m. Around that time. And then nothing really happened until I would say probably the climax of everything. And funny enough, I had a paranormal experience before that, which was I was at a friend's house and we ended up like hearing like this fucking baby crying in this house that he was house sitting, and there was no baby in the house, and it was just fucking weird. And either way, I got home around midnight that night and I went to bed, and I woke up I remember because I woke up and I checked my phone and it was at 2:47 exact, and I was hearing footsteps in the kitchen, and I was like, that's fucking weird, you know. And I just kind of laid there and I'm like, do I go and check or I'm like, fuck it, no, I'm just gonna go to bed. So I went to bed, and next morning I talked to my dad because we were driving, and I said, "Hey, did you guys have any like people over last night? Like, did you guys go up to Legion in town and, you know, bring people home or something? Or were you getting a drink or what?" And he was like, "What time?" I said, "Well, I heard it at like almost 3 o'clock." And he looks at me very seriously and he goes, "You're not fucking with me, right?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "Well, your mother woke up at 3 a.m. and there were 2 figures standing at the end of the bed. And when she shook me awake, they disappeared, and all of a sudden, orange, blue, white, and just a bunch of fucking colors were flying, or just were coming in through the back of the window. And, you know, we're even reflecting off the wall that their bed was facing. And then, you know, gone." And that was the last time we ever experienced shit. But still thinking about it kind of gives me, you know, the creeps, because I was like, what the actual fuck? And he was very serious, you know. That's the thing that, you know, really kind of kicked it off then, and we got to talking about it after that. And it's, you know, I've never heard, and as a skeptic, you know, I've never heard of a group that has had group psychosis, you know, that they didn't kind of relay information off of each other, you know, off of, you know, the different kind of like psychological shit that they were experiencing, you know, through whatever psychosis, you know.
Well, let's be honest, Evan, while we're on the topic of psychology, let's not forget that you're a B student in psychology.
You're right.
Okay?
You're right. Fuck. You got me.
Maybe that's why you didn't hear about them, because maybe that was the lesson that you skipped. So that you go plow some hot trim on your college campus. You know what cracks me up, though, Evan?
Yeah.
And you're going to have to explain this to me. You said you moved into your sister's room after that whole situation with the orbs, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell me why you would think that a species that traveled millions of light years would travel that far, navigate through the entire universe, galaxies, multiple galaxies, all the way to your bedroom, and then just tap out when they didn't find you there and not go the extra 10, 15 feet to your sister's room to find you? Did you feel like you were going to get away from them that easily?
Well, see,
did it work?
This is actually, jokes aside, What the thing well, the thing is that what I've kind of talked about with my dad is that when he was younger, you know, and he experienced that gray standing over him, my grandfather would have been about close to 40, if not 40, when me and my parents were experiencing that shit. My dad would have been about 40, late 30s, 40s. And the thing is that, you know, my dad never experienced anything besides that one instance and just the shit that my mom would tell him. And, you know, it kind of makes me wonder, is something going down? And I've, you know, me and my parents have watched like these documentaries about alien abductions and whatnot, and in which they, like, several accounts that talk about, well, they follow generations. And so that makes me think, you know, are they doing, or is there, for whatever reason, they're doing like genetic testing?
You know what's funny to me is imagining, and we'll go back to jokes because that's what I do.
Of course. That's fine.
Your dad is such a heavy sleeper and like so oblivious to their existence. They're like, they report back to the mothership and they're like, I couldn't get him. They're like, we've been trying to fuck with this guy for 40 years and he still doesn't even acknowledge us. He's so sick. Like, we sit there and we'll shake him while he's sleeping. His wife wakes up, for God's sakes, and she tells him he doesn't even wake up.
Yeah. The thing is that makes me wonder is that, you know, my grandpa never said any of this shit, you know, and I wonder if maybe shit was happening to him when he was in his 40s, and that's why he maybe either never experienced anything, or maybe, because I mean, if you, the way that I think about it is that if these beings are much more, you know, and much more intelligent, much more capable of doing things biologically, chemically, physically, then, you know, they got to be able to just, you know, keep someone asleep. You know, there's no way that they can't just fucking keep someone asleep and not make them aware of their existence. I mean, maybe there are other variables that they can't always account for, say me waking up or my mom waking up, you know, maybe because they have to control a single effort on the, you know, one specimen or whatever. You know, it makes me wonder if maybe when I become around that age, I won't start experiencing shit, but the people that are around me will.
They just got a head start on you because they couldn't mess with your dad. They're like, he's not listening. We're going to have to go mess with this other dude. And then you move away to college. So, like, first of all, the grandpa, we can't find the guy. He keeps moving around all the time. And he's wearing camouflage. We can't find him when we do get to him. And then the dad sleeps through everything. Now this kid, we just have to mess with Evan. Just mess with this kid.
I wonder what these aliens have against you. Like, maybe it's something personal. Maybe they don't like the way you dress or something. They're not down with your style, bro.
It's probably because I still wear cargo shorts.
That's what it is. Yep.
Wait a minute.
That's it right there. That's it right there.
Dustin, he's wearing cut-off, short, tacky shorts.
I got cargo shorts on right now.
I can see a little bit of his butt cheek, as a matter of fact. They're so short. Take him down a little bit. Why do your legs go from, like, sort of tan to Gandalf white? Like, the white table you're up against it? I don't know where the table ends and your knee starts.
It's my farmer's tan, bruh. But for my Daisy Dukes. Hey, it's been 80 degrees down here in Kentucky. It's been nice.
I wear sweatpants all the time. I'm like Carl.
But do you even go outside?
Sometimes. I am aware of the outside. Like, I know it's there.
Yeah. What is this outside you speak of?
Somebody,
I think I've been there.
When I come, or when I go to bed, it's the lights are, or the sun's already coming up and everything, and I hear the birds chirping, and I'm like, what the hell is this? What is this nonsense?
What is it?
So have you ever, Evan, while we're on the topic of you being away at college, have you had any instances of this alien business since you've been away at college?
No, not at all. Which it's weird because, you know, after that thing happened with me waking up at 2:47 and whatnot, soon after that we got a wooden privacy fence put up, And then after that, nothing happened.
They travel millions of light years and navigate all these galaxies to come to your wooden fence, and they're like, well, how in the hell are we going to get over this? They can't.
It wasn't,
they turn around
it wasn't
and go
my
home.
dog that thwarted, intergalactic species of aliens. It was a fence.
That's how we defeat them. We need to relay
Yes.
this information to the president immediately. Instead of
We all
building a
need
giant wall,
wood.
we just build a wooden privacy
Build a
fence.
fucking
We'll be all right.
wall. Build a fucking wall. Jesus Christ.
All right, Evan. I think we do have to wrap it up, unfortunately.
Hey, that's fine. It's all good, my guys. I'm just glad that you could, you were willing to listen to the shit that I had, experienced and whatnot.
Well, yeah, of course. We appreciate you coming on the show and telling your story. And what's the
Yeah, make sure you tell some people about the show and listen to our show. And
Oh, I already got people lined up to listen to it.
stay a fan, and tell everybody about us, man. And that's what you wanted me to tell them, right?
Yeah,
that's what you were
buy
gonna say,
some
Tom.
merchandise. What's the other thing?
Yeah, buy the merch.
There'll be
No,
some
we are
t-shirts for
gonna
sale
do
shortly.
shirts, I think.
Yeah, we are doing shirts.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, no. The important thing is we're just looking for people to, enjoy, join with us in the laughter, and obviously, a lot of people don't want to tell their story. A lot of people think, think we're, think I'm being ridiculous, or I'm making something out of nothing, or whatever. They think that it's, like
Yeah,
I'm sure
I've had that
you've
happen
told
a
the
lot.
story. Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people are afraid to come and tell
I
the
just don't
story.
give a fuck.
We're here as that outlet for them. They can come on and tell the story. We'll have a couple laughs, and the story gets out there. Somebody else hears it, and they say, "Oh, well, I have a similar story. I didn't know that more people had these issues than me. So that's obviously why we're here. But we also like to have a good time with it. But
Of course.
Yeah, we're glad to have you, dude.
Yeah,
Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you. It was a good time talking about everything. And
All right, brother.
alrighty, well, thank you again.
Yep. You have a good night.
Take
Yeah,
Take
thanks.
care,
You
dude.
too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.